Hello people of the internet, I am still not an Englishman and still making videos for YouTube, and in this one I want to talk about something that's a bit of a pet peeve of mine and might not necessarily be as meaningful for everyone, but I think there's some useful bits in that, so I'll talk about it anyway. How's my head space? Is it too close? I'll be a bit... So if you're into film and video, which you probably are because you're watching this video, and you are subscribed to at least a few YouTubers who are into the same things, then chances are pretty big that you came by certain videos that talk about cinematic footage, more precisely about how to achieve the cinematic look, how to achieve the look of cinematic footage, however you want it. And what those videos usually are, they're tutorials on how to color grade your footage to make it look cinematic. And that's all good. There's some really good tips in there. Some of the guys really nailed it, and if you manage to get through those tutorials and actually learn something, you might lift your production value quite a bit with those. However, having said that, there is one thing that keeps bothering me. What exactly is cinematic footage? Or what do we mean when we say cinematic footage? From what I've managed to understand after watching a few of those videos, or quite a lot of them actually, is that footage looks a bit more contrasty, the shadows are a bit cooler or a bit bluer if you have it, and the highlights are a bit warmer or orange and teal as they refer to it, and as pretty much half of YouTube looks like right now. Anyway, and usually the sky looks very cinematic, or it looks like from some trailer of Judgment Day, or I don't know. I might sound a bit negative right now, and I really don't want to, but just hear me out. Yeah, so the footage looks really nice, it's really pleasing to the eye, but I think everyone is missing the main point. It's not how your footage looks like that makes it cinematic. It's the content, the substance of your footage, or the story. Basically, what makes your clip look cinematic is everything that happened before that clip, is all the story that came before it, is all the music and the sound that makes the ambience, and then there's the characters, if any, inside that clip that make the footage cinematic. So to make this a bit clearer, let's take a look at the clip from Gladiator. I know it's a very cliche, and now it became quite a kitschy clip because it's been used everywhere and, you know, every single time, but still, just take a look at it. So without any music and without anything, you know, any emotional interest or anything, this might as well be some stock footage. And if you go to any stock footage page and write in wheat and hand, I'm 100% certain you will find something that looks very, very similar to this. Now, there's nothing really cinematic to it, but let's say we add some music to this. Now we're starting to get certain ideas about where we can put this. Okay, lift his gauntlet because it looks like it's something from Middle Ages, but still, we get some vague idea of the emotion that the clip is trying to portray. Now, let's say we've just watched an hour and a half long story about a guy who's at the very beginning, family has been killed, and then he went through a lot of suffering and a lot of fighting and had to kill a lot of people. And then at the end, which is right before this clip, he's basically dying, and this clip actually portrays him dying and going back to his family. You see, now we're getting tears on people's eyes in cinemas and in front of their own TVs at home. And I think this is what makes this clip really cinematic. It's the emotions and all the story that came before it. When a film goes through the production process, of course it starts with the story, which is usually the script. And then it goes to pre-production, so then they start casting people, and then they go through rehearsals, and then they get the whole crew together and all the locations and everything. And then production happens, which is basically on set, so the cameras, lightings, action, and everything happens. Then we go into post-production. Post-production first is usually the editing, and they edit the stuff together. Then there's sound editing, sound mixing, sound design, and whatever. And then there's composing, if any. Otherwise, they just put the pre-composed music on the film. And then at the very end of the production, just before it goes out to the cinema, it's color grading. So you see, thinking that only grading, which is the last part of film production, makes your footage look cinematic, is saying that you basically skipped the whole production process and just left the last part, which is still very important, but it just doesn't cut it only by itself. So before you grab your camera and go out and shoot some amazing GoPro cinematic footage, just sit down and think about what you want to say. Just come up with a very simple story. It doesn't need to be something, I don't know, Russian realism or what have you. Just simple, you know, one event after another that kind of makes sense. Maybe a beginning, maybe an end. If you're vlogging, then an end, you know, you never know what's gonna happen through the day, but still. And also try to think about how you want to shoot it to tell that story in the best possible way. Do you want shaky footage? Do you want still footage? Or do you really need that gimbal, because in order to tell that story, you need it really smooth. And then after you shoot all this and you come home, think what kind of colors would suit the story that you've just shot and you're trying to tell. Don't just blindly go applying, you know, the same LUT that you have over and over again. Just take your time, sit down 5-10 minutes, have coffee, and maybe write it down, and it helps. It makes such a huge difference. Trust me, just try it once. You know, it won't hurt. It's just an exercise. There, I got it out, feel much better now. I hope this doesn't seem like I'm trying to attack certain YouTubers or, you know, people who are defending this style of footage. There's nothing wrong about it. It looks amazing, but, you know, how many slow motion shots of making coffee do we need to see before we realize that it's just making coffee? Thank you very much for watching. I hope there was something useful in this for you. See you next time. Bye-bye.